Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video and welcome to another episode of BRAYTalks, the series that I generally talking non-sporting related topics featuring sometimes games I don't normally play or featuring my face. You can tell I'm featuring my face again. I swear that I will feature a video game at some point in this series at some point. So yeah. First off, my apologies for not doing an episode after after the two parts of the previous episode. It seemed like you guys more enjoyed the neighbours part rather than the home and away part, I said my apologies for drawing that episode into two parts because I didn't want a two-hour video of combining both neighbours and home and away, so I had to combine it with two parts. And neighbours the neighbours episode was quite successful. So I'll do this at some stage maybe in the next week or two at the beginning of March. So for this episode, the topic we'll talk about is again something to do with me, and it involves something that people they've come across me. It depends if it's outside of school, school, or whether it's on at work, and it is this. If you guys you can't see this, the scar on my arm. Now this is the story of that. Now, for warning, I don't remember everything in related to this. I know the accident itself, and parts of the aftermath about it, but there's not much about it that I remember. So bear with me on that front as well. So the story would be that I think this happened about, almost 18, 17 or 18 years ago. I was about 5 or 6 on this particular day. I think it was in around May. I'm trying to remember what date it was. But the one thing I remember from that day was, and by the way, we weren't living in this house. By the way, this was before my stepdad came into it. My brother came into it. It was just my mum and I at that time, and we weren't living in this house. We were actually living in the same street we're living at now, but we're living two houses down the street. We were living, and it was only a year later that we moved into here, which we've been living in for about almost I think 17 years now. I believe we've been living in here. So on this particular day, I remember my nan came down just to have a couple with mum and that. And me being a 5-year-old and 6-year-old, I was just playing around. I can remember on TV, if you're a fan of motorsport, you would know this channel quite well. It's on SBS. It's called Speed Week. I remember on the main TV because our old house had this thing where it had the kitchen and the living and the lounge room all in the same room. In this particular house. I was just running around and I was just pretending like I was a freaking car, just running around and that, running around the house and that, while mum and nan were talking amongst themselves, because obviously I was 5, so I wasn't, seeing what they were doing. I ran up the hallway near the back door to the backyard. when this happened. So I was running and running, and and my 5-year-old mind realised, hang on, I might be going a bit too fast here. I might maybe try and stop myself. So I put my hand out to stop myself, but which I thought, a 5-year-old's arm's not gonna do something to this. And this back door wasn't like a wooden door. It was basically a wooden door with glass involved in it as well. Thinking, this is not gonna. I'm just gonna rebound it. It's gonna give way. My arm's gonna give way to it like it normally would, and I'll just play it and continue to play around. I was wrong, because when I went to I was running that fast that put my hand out, and then all of a sudden, arm went straight through the door, straight through the window, and from what I learned a few years later when I became a teenager was it wasn't the actual push that caused this. It was pulling it out that caused it, and it just went straight, cut straight through my arm, and immediately I was in pain. I was crying in pain and that, and I went to show my mum, and then she went, "Holy shit!" Holy shit! Yeah, and she was absolutely in shock, and she immediately rang an ambulance straight away, straight away, and they came, instantly. I can't remember how long it was until when Mum called the ambulance, and then until the ambulance arrived at the house. That's one of the things I can't remember. That's what I meant at the start of the video there's certain things I do remember, and there's some things I don't. So it must have been pretty quickly. The one thing also was me pop, who at that time was actually a country footy goal umpire at the time. He was actually umpiring a game at the same time when the accident happened. And I can remember, obviously being a grandfather that he is, he knew about. I don't know if Nan rang him during the halftime of this game, and then basically or he was informed. I don't know. But he went there, got in the car, and basically drove to see how I was. And basically the ambulance people said, you need to go to hospital because and for some reason, I don't know if my mum said no, you're not going to, or I was too young to travel in an ambulance for some reason. I don't know, but I don't know why. But I didn't travel to the emergency room in an ambulance. I did not know. I still don't know why. Maybe my mum didn't want me to, or she wanted another family member to drive us down to the emergency room. But yeah, and she decided to ring my aunt, who one of my aunts, who I think at the time was, I'll try to remember. I think at the time, she was pregnant to one of my cousins. I think at the time, one of my oldest cousins at the time. I think I'm trying to remember that. So I can actually remember that I think. So we went there. My aunt drove us over to the local hospital, which is not far, which is basically or the closest actual local public hospital, which is which is basically next to the highway. If you guys don't know, it's basically the hospital, which is called the Latrobe Regional Hospital. It's basically if you basically go to Maui, you go down the highway, go past Morwell and basically Morwell and Traralgon are basically so close to each other. Not as close as Moe and Newborough because, yeah, as I said. So basically, and then during the middle part, in the middle of it is Latrobe Regional Hospital. I think we drove nearly about half an hour. I think about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, and we drove straight in the emergency room. And I remember one of the I think it was one of the doctors or one of the residents, came to us straight away once we went into the emergency room. The one thing I remember from that, the one thing I still remember to this day, it was clear as day. I remember because I think me mum wrapped the massive cut with a tea towel. I remember rightly, and I remember right, or something else. I think it was a tea towel. I think it was. I remember it was something that was blue and yellow. I think it was a tea towel that we had at the time. And I remember, and he said, and then he said, "Oh, let's take a look at it." And I went, "No," and I immediately turned around like that while they were unwrapping it, because it was massive. Like, I'm not gonna tell you in full detail because one, I don't want to gross people out, and two, I want this video to not be age restricted. So yeah, so I'm not gonna go into full detail of what the actual cut looked like, just for the sake of my YouTube channel, basically. So what happened was, yeah, and then they assessed me arm, and basically, and unfortunately at that hospital, they couldn't do. They said, I think somewhere along the lines. This is where to start, where basically there's a lot of details and stuff that I don't remember. I think they must have said, we can't. You need to have plastic surgery. You need to have plastic surgery to repair this arm, but I don't think they were equipped at the time, which was back in the mid 2000s, which was 2006. I don't think Latrobe Regional Hospital I don't think they were equipped at the time to do such a plastic surgery like this. So they recommended us to basically go down to Dandenong Hospital, which is a public hospital, which is about half an hour. I think it's for half an hour outside Melbourne. So yeah, so we went there. I think I can't. I cannot remember how we got to Dandenong Hospital. I don't know if someone else, maybe my aunt drove us down there, or we went down there in an ambulance. I actually cannot remember. And I think, and then I think, and it's the stuff where it gets really hazy. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I don't know if I had the surgery, because I think the incident happened late in the morning or early afternoon, I think, and then that night, and then I think I had the plastic surgery that night, I think, because I remember there was bits there where my grandparents, who now currently live in Geelong, and I think, but I don't know. I can't remember where they were living at the time. I think they were living somewhere in Geelong, but they live in another part of Geelong now. They travelled down to see how I was as well, and I can remember. I remember for some reason, I don't know why. I don't know if it was like some sort of dream I had during the middle of the night while I was sleeping, or it actually happened. I remember for some reason being wheeled out of the hospital in a wheelchair. I'm serious. I don't know why. Because obviously that happened 17 years ago, so I don't know how that happened, to be honest. And yeah, but yeah, and then so yeah, and then I wheeled back, and then some reason I got back in. Some reason maybe someone must have said, "Oh, you need to stay a night in hospital." So I stayed the night in hospital. Don't know where my mum was at the time. Maybe she was out in the reception, somewhere, maybe just napping, or maybe something like that. I don't know. Surely she wouldn't have gone home, because between Maui to Dandenong is nearly about an hour. So I don't think she would have gone straight home. Gone home for the night and then came back here before I woke up. I don't think so. But the one thing I do remember though was back in the day, I was in the ward, and back in those days, nowadays you have a TV for every bed pretty much. But back then there was only one TV for each ward, and I remember and the one thing I do remember looking up was basically Supercars was on there, and Supercars was on there. Prior to the time, I remember watching Supercars races when it were at Pukekohe Park Raceway. That was my first time ever experiencing Supercars. So this was probably one of the main catalysts for me being a Supercars fan, because just to get me deal through a very tough situation with my arm and that. Then after everything, plastic surgery in my arm, I had to go through rehab, go through rehab and that sort of stuff as well. So some setbacks along the way too. I remember one time at school, I had because I remember it was finger stitches at the time, and it was at a time when it was fully bandaged. I think previously it was I feel it was like a plaster cast, I think. Then it was bandaged, and then during the time when it was bandaged, I remember there was some redness on the bandage. I think it was something to do with the stitches, and then afterwards, I remember right, and this took nearly about probably about a year, I think over about a year or two to recover from this injury. I remember I can remember specifically having a purple brace on my arm. I remember rightly. I think I don't know if it was I don't think it was to support. It was for the scar. I don't think. I think it was something to do with my arm. Yeah. But unfortunately they really didn't. I'm not saying now that they did a bad job. They did a good enough job for me being a 6-year-old for basically recovering, to get rehab done with me arm and that. But the problem was I'm still weak wristed. If I carrying heavy stuff for a long period of time, the wrist strength just gives out, and then I have to rely on the fingertip strength to hold that heavy stuff, which is not ideal in a way. But I have to basically rely on my upper arm strength here to basically lift something, and then basically hope that that after a while, so I'm still like weak wristed and that. So yeah, and it's on both arms too, by the way. This is my stronger arm, by the way. So yeah, but yeah, and then after getting off the brace, I was fine. Now and that, and afterwards, everybody. Some people might think that I get tired I get tired and frustrated of people asking. No, I don't at all. I just say, if people ask me, oh, what happened to your arm? What happened to your arm? I just say the truth. I just say, oh, I smashed my arm through a glass window, and there you go. So that was pretty much it. That's pretty much the story of how I got this scar on my arm, and yeah. So as I said, there's a lot of things that there's some things I do remember from that fateful day, and there's some memories that I had that I just completely either have minimal memory a bit of or no memory of at all. So like this video. Like this video. Share this video around. Comment down below. Well, yeah, just comment down below what has been your worst accident in life. Have you broken an arm? Have you broken a leg? Anything like that? Just comment down below your story. I would love to hear your story about the worst accident that in your childhood that you I can't, mate. It's nearly 9 o'clock. I can't freaking speak at this point. I should probably end this video now. I freaking can't speak. In your childhood, I'd love to hear it. And lastly, somewhere down there, click on the big red button, just labeled subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later.